better come prepared because they don't fuck around on Monday. Monday, most people come in, I had such a great weekend. Oh my God, go fuck yourself. That was then, this is now, bitch. It's a whole new set. It's Monday, cocksuckers, and you better come prepared because they don't fuck around on Monday. Monday, most people come in, I had such a great weekend. Oh my God, go fuck yourself. That was then, this is now, bitch. It's a whole new set of rules. It's Monday. If you ain't waking up with the taste of blood in your fucking mouth like a shark 5 feet from the shore, you fucked up. You understand? Because Monday is when you go, everybody else is like, still the weekend, you fucking go.
Hey, it's Monday. Another Monday. First of all, it's the last Monday actually in January, which goes to show you how quickly the year is already off to a speeding start. Because I swear we just said Happy New Year 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
But it's the end of January. It's the beginning of February. And for those of you who don't know and aren't sure, it's Black History Month. And it's the month that your boy is born in, A-Rock Sealy, aka Amir Sealy. So looking forward to, next month, looking forward to the birthday celebration and all the other stuff that goes along. But more importantly, I'm just looking forward to coming in here each and every week on Monday and doing and dropping jewels and saying things and putting you guys in the best energy and space possible, not only get through today, but the rest of your week, so that next week will be just as dope as this week was. But I always start this by saying, first and foremost, salute and hello to my co-host, the one and only Talent. He goes by one name. That's how great he is. But more importantly, we always ask each other how the weekend was. T, how was the weekend, King?
Hey, my brother, peace to the gods, the earths, the queens, and all that. And of course, my man King Sealy over here. Well, I had the big ski trip to do. I had to host, I want to say it's their 22nd or something like that anniversary. Don't quote me, but I know it's a lot. Of doing their annual weekend getaway in the winter, which is called, aka the ski trip. Bruh. I think the only reason I'm alive is because, the time I went there, make sure I got there early Friday, because the first thing I do is Friday late night, do like a bump and grind cafe. So I make sure I got there early, let it all wind down and peep the situation, be on time and so going through the motions. Brother, I got to take my hat off to Black and Gold Entertainment. They always go above and beyond. That's why, they're like my parent company that I model what I do behind, because they're the best I've seen do it. Like, I've seen people put on good shows and do things, but I've never seen people take the money from the people and fairly put it back into whatever that entertainment thing's going to be, i.e., this past weekend, bro, these people got 7 meals, transportation included, nice hotel with villas around it and everything. Like, some people's in their own building with villas, with a shuttle back and forth to the main building. They did everything, Amir. They like I said, 7 meals, your hotel accommodations. Between entertainment, you had pool parties, day parties, meet and greet parties. There's the afternoon madness we do. 2 concerts. You had the African Garb at night with Melissa Morgan and Christopher Williams and Greg Nice. And then you had Will Trax and a bunch of other DJs doing their thing on Friday night with the hip hop. And everybody did splendid. When I tell you they give you about 6, 7 dope DJs in the building, DJ Knuckles and everybody there putting it down, making it happen. And then, they got the top-notch security. I mean, they just, the open bar hours, you know what I mean? Like, you getting it all. And I had a great weekend. The comedy show was stupendous. All my comics was on time. I wasn't waiting for nobody. Matter of fact, they were waiting for the show to start. I wasn't waiting for nobody. The merchandise, I want to say thank you, salute to the people for supporting myself and Aldo. We had all the merch and our table was set up the whole weekend, and we did lovely and had fun in there. But for the win, and still the undisputed MVP, edibles for the win. Edibles for the win, bro. Like, yo, and it's funny because it's so a thing right now. Because me, I keep my own supply, so I got the cookies my cousin got me on. I know them. I know them like the back of my hand, or when to take them, when not to take them, how much they, So that's your safe zone. But I got on this trip, Amir. Yeah, one dude, hey, I heard you rocking these edible. First of all, why is the word out there that I'm doing drugs? Why is that? But that's a whole nother show. He's like, I heard this. Here you go, brother, give me a pack of like some gummy joints. And our good friend Tony Peterson comes out of nowhere. Hey, when you get a minute, I got the red velvet cupcakes. They bong bong. Oh, they bong bong. Okay, got that. My cousin, as soon as I see her in the lobby, even though I'm already up there with my supply of cookies from my cousin, this little bitch gonna throw me a brownie. Check it out. Take your time with that. I was like, so edible for the win. And again, though, like what I always say, and let me put this out there since we're talking about it. I always say this. I feel about drugs like I feel about guns. And not people always say, oh, guns don't kill people. No, people do, which is correct. And it's the same thing with drugs. The drugs, you have to do anything you're doing in moderation and know what you're doing, or you're just going to be a junkie. You're coming turn into whatever like anybody else. And that's on those people, right? So I don't want to knock anybody who may be on some prescription drugs or having a hard time, whatever the case may be. But my weekend, me personally, edibles for the win, MVP, hands down. I had 4 different kinds, and it was crazy each night. You know what I mean? Once you get to the wee hours, you take it.
Good to go.
And I'm playing that good music in there. That music sound like you hear it's like crazy.
It's so phenomenal, man. I had a much quieter weekend overall. Didn't do anything Friday, didn't get into anything Saturday. Then Sunday, thankfully, my sister actually texted me Saturday night and was like, I got tickets to the St. John's Georgetown game at the Garden Sunday. So I said, all right, cool, sis, I'm definitely down for that. So I get up Sunday. And in my brain, I was up doing my normal Sunday stuff, like in technically preparing for the week ahead. And about 11 o'clock, it kicked in. I said, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be doing something today. I was like, oh, shit, I'm supposed to go to this game. So I start pulling myself together, get myself together, run into the city. And the beauty of the game was this. Sundays, like I said, is normally my kind of calm day, but
right.
I haven't been in that environment in a while and really haven't gotten caught up in the game since, the days when Malik was really a part of St. John's. So we're watching the game. St. John's is doing moderately well. All of a sudden, Georgetown starts coming on like gangbusters. And towards the end, it really turned into a game. It turned into Big East as we knew it. Like, oh, my God, is
right.
battling back and forth. The time clock is running down. The crowd is all into it. And St. John's managed to pull it out with a 3 at the very end. And it was just pandemonium. It was, it turned into such a great situation. But more importantly, it was dope because my sister was there. My eldest brother was there. My brother-in-law, Doug, and my nephew, Mason. So we all got to, kind of experience it all together. So that was was a beautiful thing. And then Sunday night, some other young ladies that I know who do a wonderful podcast called My Cousins. I think it's All the Cousins or something like that. They asked me to be on their show last night. So I got on there and chopped it up with them. And that was, dope. So the Sunday coming into today, I'm just in that vibe and in that energy. And I'm just, I'm feeling, I really feel good today. I'm like, things are progressing and moving in a really, really positive and wonderful way. So I just, implore everybody, when your weekend comes, try to find all the things that make you feel great, make you feel good, and let that be what catapults you coming into the week, because it makes a big difference. If you had a crappy weekend, you usually go into Monday feeling like, so. But it was.
Didn't I say that? I said that last week. I'm like, we gotta and it's funny because as we get older, we do it anyway. We reshape our thinking with age. And that's one of the things we might want to put on the list. Like, instead of me, this is the beginning of my week, this is the end of my week. I think that hinders us. I think that mentally, by knowing that subconsciously, our heart, body, and mind get used to moving a certain way depending on what day, because we done trained us. So subliminally is already embedded.
Yeah.
Because we say it all the time. Ooh, it's Friday. Da, da, da. We got this shit, this clock that I think we need to change as far as energy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? As far as energy, we could change. Speaking of energy, I said to myself for 2 weeks, I kept saying I want to bring it up because it has a lot to do with being motivated. But 2 weeks in a row, I forgot. So it just crossed my mind. So on Thursdays, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome out Motivation Monday. Amir Silly, your boy Talon Harris. Thank you if you came in late. On Thursdays, uh, me and a friend of mine, DJ Masai, we throw a comedy after work thing in Harlem, right on 125th and Lenox. It's a new building where they got a Whole Foods on the ground level. Then there's escalators that go up to the restaurant, and then another level is Raymore and Flanagan. So it's a nice big new building in Harlem, right on the corner of 125th and Lenox. So my guy Masai scouts out the place. Oh, we got this nice place. The room situated looks beautiful. We should bring our comedy there after work. No problem. We'll do it. So we've been in here for maybe a total of 7, 8 weeks or whatever. And each week I go, I'll notice something. I'll try to get them to change it or fix it. Like this could be better, or whatever. Just little show stuff. But the one thing that's been bothering the shit out of me, and it almost bothered me like it's my fucking restaurant, like pissed off, like fucking what's that shit, Undercover Boss.
Yeah.
But this place has a ton of people working in it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know everybody's title or whatever, but I know, and Amir can attest to this, that we see at least 6 to 8 of these youngsters running through the place, supposed to be working, whatever. Now, I say youngsters because I understand maybe that it's because it's a black-owned restaurant. A couple of black women own it. It's called Crab Queens. And I don't know if it's these youngsters, maybe family, that you're trying to teach how to work or whatever the case may be. Bottom line is the service on Thursday is the only complaint that we have now. The stage was too far out. We moved it back. The DJ's in the wrong place. We shifted that. This was da-da-da. The sound like that, we shifted that. The lighting this, we shifted that. The only thing left that I would give a negative on my report card would be the service. Now, like I said, the closest, quickest thing I can come up with why they move the way they move is obviously you're young, but that's not an excuse because as youngsters, we're sponges and we absorb what we need to do. But the only thing I think of is maybe a relative because maybe that's why you can walk around with zero pressure at the job, very lackadaisical, whatever the case may be. I put myself in my shoes as a youngster when I had jobs, and I had jobs. But at no point do you feel like you can 100% relax because you're at the job. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've had bosses and managers and supervisors train me and tell me, oh, it's always something to do. I've had people train me in different places, department stores, stock buildings, warehouse, whatever. But each one, what you will notice in training is somebody who trains you is always going to also train you how to always be doing something, or at least the perception of.
Appearance.
These
Yep.
kids are going, fuck, am I lying? These kids, it's like they'll get up for that first time, check, boom, you get your shit on the they go in the back section. These niggas might as well have a three-way spades game back there. How the fuck they be? And I'm be like, yo, all I can think of is like, your kids at that age.
Yeah.
And you're like, I remember doing this shit, crossing my heart, saying, thank God for my sons, you know what I mean? And daughters, like, they don't move like this shit's crazy. Like my kids, they get jobs before I know they got jobs. So they got that daddy blood shit in them. I know that because I'll get a call. Yo, I was calling you. Where the fuck you at? Call them to tell you I love you. My kids be like, Dad, settle down. I'm at fucking work. I'm like, oh.
No, you're right. I think, one of the challenges that we have is, to your point, it's not only the fact that these young people may or may not be related to the people who own the establishment, but you also have now a lot of distractions. And I think one of the things that these kids are not as privy to, and this goes across the board, even the people at our stage in life, everybody is so attached to their phones, and I get it. I really do. I understand there's nothing like a TikTok moment or Instagram something to break up the monotony of your day, maybe get you a quick laugh or whatever the case may be. The only thing that I would say though is pick and choose those moments. If you have breaks, for instance, on your job, then that's the time to take out your phone and check for the various things, or on your lunch hour or things like that. Too many people are so connected and engrossed in their phones that they find themselves not paying attention to things that are directly in front of them. And especially when you're in the environment of any establishment and your job is to provide customer service. Customer service is probably one of the most underrated, but one of the greatest gifts that you can actually partake in and fulfill for someone. Now, I do know that we all are privy to things that we have going on in our world. Meaning, maybe you have watched your mom or somebody in your family who owned a business and they may be moved a certain way, and that's understandable for that business. But to Talon's point, when you're in the food service industry, there should be a constant clock in your head to say, "Let me check on the patrons and ensure and or make sure that they are enjoying themselves, they're being serviced properly, and they enjoy the space and enjoying the energy of it," because that's really what draws you back. I could attest to this because I've had some of the food since I've been there. Catfish is off the chain. I know one time we had the corn. The corn is good, so the food
Yeah,
is absolutely outstanding. But the staff, he's right. They have to come together and they have to tell that staff, once you see patrons in the establishment and they start sitting down, it is up to you guys to constantly go check in, check on, ensure, make sure drinks or orders are taken. People have water. People are, checking on their food to see if, there's some delay. And then if there is, coming back, hey, unfortunately, our kitchen is, kind of overpowered right now, but give us a few minutes. We'll, get your food out to you as quickly as we can. Your tip and or how people patronize your establishment is directly related to that. And I don't think that enough of our young people, and like I said, our elders sometimes understand that. I know for a fact that I've had moments where I've been in some of the worst places in the world, but the staff and the way that they treated me was incredible. So then the tip was incredible. And then I've been in places like Tia's, describing now. We can see the potential. We can understand how great it can be and should be. But you got to find that balance and have it match up. But more importantly, we have to figure out a way where we bridge the gap between young people understanding that this is now also a representation of you. Because as we go to these establishments, we are taking and partaking in who you are and how you, give us customer service. And that's big. You know what I
right.
mean?
And let me tell you what's crazy. What's crazy is this, like, again, going back, we've been there. We're not talking about from just opinion. We're talking about people who work these type of jobs. It now, when I put it into a business sense of all parties involved, there's a comedy night, there's entertainment night. Okay, this thing doesn't get paid for from nowhere. It doesn't just poof out of the cloud and everything's all good. No, there's a budget that gets paid out to pay the entertainers. Now, with that is perceived that obviously we're bringing patrons and we're bringing money out to pay said budget. So if that gets taken care of, that ends up being the people paying for their entertainment. Boom, they get that. Then any extras after whatever that break even point is, boom, your promoter makes his couple of dollars, makes it worth his while. Now the food and drink, if we eating and drinking in this establishment, boom, helps who? Duh. The establishment, which is, believe it or not, is the kicker. Is your fucking boss where you work. You're gonna believe this shit. So if they can't make the money that they need to sustain their bills and stay open, you don't have a fucking job. That's the simplest way I could break it down, mathematically speaking, to these people who may be a certain generation or gender that can't put that together. Because a lot of times, America does have us looking through a bird's eye view when it comes to individual and corporate movements. And I say that to like this, like a person in America, a worker, is much more prone to blow time or energy or resources of a job if they work for a corporation. If they work for a smaller unit or a mom and pop shop, they may be a little more empathetic and sympathetic to how the dollar's being distributed and made and all that good stuff. But when you see these guys work for corporations, it's such a bigger scheme of things. Shit, you got to catch them. Motherfucker work for Coca-Cola. Motherfucker work for, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Pepsi or whatever the fuck it is, some big corporation, IBM, whatever, Apple. It's a different train of thought. But my point is, it all breaks down the same way. These things are all put into place for a certain reason. Like
Yes.
I remember one 2 weeks ago, Masai comes to me and go, "Oh yeah, last week the manager came to me and lodged a complaint because there was a couple of gay jokes and the staff was offended." Now, now I got to come in and give the actual spew of things like, okay, first of all, this show ain't for you. So if you happen to catch a free show and while you're working and all that, cool. If it happen to be something go against your way of life, cool as well. You keep it fucking moving. Um, that's what this show is. They know this show is a raw, uncut show. Blah blah blah. They want it, and you're not gonna agree with all the things. But at the end of the day, the very first point is it's not for you. You didn't pay at the door to come and sit down and can lodge your complaints in that manner. Like it's not for you. If anything else, just schedule off on Thursday. We're not here every day. On Thursday. I mean, you don't want to fucking work anyway, so schedule a day off. You know what I mean? Um, so that was one of the things. But my whole point of bringing that up is motivation and dedication. Is it now a generational thing? Is that a big ass gap we need to bridge? Because when we're starting to find ourselves sound like our parents saying shit like, when I was and we used to and da 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 and back in the day and da da. So now we saying the same shit they used to say, right? But is it generational?
You know what? I think that it's not so much a generational thing, so much as it is models. One of the tough things, and you and I, had conversations about this on air and off air about this. When I say models, we have to take good hard looks at ourselves. Young people, whether they be your children or somebody else's children, they technically only model themselves after things that they see or things that they hear. So when we're out here in the world, I just experienced something like this coming to a grocery store here in my neighborhood. I don't know what happened. By the time I got in, this lady said something about they didn't have something that she wanted. She stormed out and she stormed back in and it was like, and another motherfucking thing. And she had, her child in tow. And I was looking at the situation. I was thinking to myself, that's a bad example that you're setting, ma'am. I get it. Whatever it is you might have been looking for, they may or may not have had, or whatever, there was some sort of disagreement. But you're setting a precedence for your child who now thinks that it's okay to go into said establishment, again, which you don't own. You don't pay rent in or any of that kind of stuff. Talk recklessly to the establishment owners and then feel that you're in the right just because you're emotional. I saw something this weekend that really blew my mind, and it said one of the true things that we have to work on as a collective is taking your emotions out of things. And you and I, touched on this, especially on our Motivational Monday. But we got to start looking at facts, and then there's emotions. And a lot of times we allow our emotions to override the facts and the things that we can honestly, tangibly touch, see, and or feel. And that's not good, because now what you're doing is you're allowing your emotion to override something that you can honestly see isn't what it is. And I think that, to your point, that's not a generational thing, that's an individual thing. So I think we have to, again, take that good hard look in the mirror and start figuring out, how do I approach things where I don't allow my emotions to be, what gets the best of me when dealing in this particular situation at this particular moment? Because that is really what we see happening. Is not, oh, she's old, she's young, and this, that, and the third. It's your emotions. And a lot of us don't have emotional intelligence the way we could and we should. And I think that if we can start to get a handle on that, if we could even start to
Oh, what happened?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
there you go. There you
okay. I think if we could, start to be as mindful of that as we are of other things, we'd find ourselves in much better positions when it comes to dealing with any and everything, whether it's young people, elders. Because to your point, T, and I'm looking at it from this standpoint, I know even now as an elder, and I say this humbly, but I'm grumpy now. And I'm grumpy just because I'm older. I've seen my fair share of things. And when I say grumpy, I don't mean like, I'm just going off on people. But when you've had a few decades under your belt, you get to a space and a place where you start to realize that a lot of the things that you thought of, especially in your earlier stages of your development, they were fugazi, they were fictitious. They really didn't make a difference and or matter. At that time it did. But now you like, yeah, you know what I mean? So then you bring that kind of energy to anything and everything that you do. And that is what we're up against. To your point, now that brought up that specific point about some of the staff, I can see how maybe they started, not servicing the people the way that they could and they should, because you're back there emotional. Did he say something about me? He didn't specify you. He
go.
didn't single you out. He was talking in generalizations. And again, that's one of the things that we have to do a better job of. I always tell people, if they didn't call your name, why are you attaching yourself to it? You might have had something that, attached yourself to it, meaning a similar circumstance or situation. But if they didn't name you personally, keep it pushing.
Let me tell you something though. And I think this is part of the problem. Guys like you and I would sit around for days on end and talk basketball and teams and the Knicks and all that. And I think the problem in there, because I'm visualizing it as we talk about this shit. And I think part of the problem is there's not a real good mixture of generation in there. I think just like we say, it makes a good team, a couple of good veterans, some good young athletic talent, and you know what I mean, youth, but you need your veterans on the team as well. That's the one thing we don't see when we're in it. We see those 7 or 8 workers who which are all young, you know what I mean? And at times sit down there and come, you don't know who's on break, who's not. It's a weird thing, but what we don't see, the constant missing piece is that 1 or 2 older staff members that are coming through, checking on things, keeping people on notice and what they're supposed to be doing and on point. We don't see that.
Yes.
And me and you and the guys like us, we sit around and talk about this shit all the time in sports. But this is the same remedy and formula needed in the business department and the motivated department. Here's the thing: youth is naturally only motivated in what they are motivated. That's why they're called the youth, because we're constantly training them to how they got how they like it to be, and we got how we know it really is, and what you need to know. You need to know these things, do these things, and yeah, if you're lucky and get it your way, God bless you. But backup plan is know how this shit's supposed to really go. So we don't see that, and when we don't see that, to me, we get a reflection of what we see now when we go in there on Thursday, like, damn, these dudes, the service, and all that shit, because of the said reason of what we just said. I truly believe that, because now playing the back as you were talking and visualizing, we ain't nobody in there. We lucky. We lucky if one of my sons.
Thank you. I was going to say the same thing, T. And
We lucky
because of
if
that, you're absolutely right. They need a few elder statesmen on that staff who can, one, tell them, really how the restaurant business works, especially if they've been in that, line of service, and then clue them into how and what to do. Like, I get it. I know, a lot of us are under the impression, because, we've been told that, you got to throw out the old guard or throw out the old book. You can't always throw out the old book. Sometimes there's some things in there that I always tell y'all you may still need. They still may be tangible ideologies and or things that allow you to move forward. But you got to go through the book line by line to figure that part out. And, T hit it directly on the head with that. He's right. There's no veterans out there on that team. And without veterans, that means it's just youth and making it up as you go, or winging it, as some might say,
Right.
because we've seen some things. I know this for a fact. Again, like I said, when you're working in certain environments, you're supposed to take stock of everything, or you should take stock of everything. That means you should know how the bar is stocked, good, bad, or indifferent, what alcohol or things that they do and don't have. So this way, when you speak to, your patrons, again, I'm sorry, we don't have that, blah, 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 blah. But don't go, let me go check, and then you forget to come back, or you come and bring something different that the person didn't ask for. So it's like you said, there's a number of different things that we're watching unfold there. But you're absolutely right. They need some seasoned vets to, really kind of help them
think back.
right the ship.
Let's take a trip down memory lane. Let's think back to our early jobs, right? I had like one of the jobs that I kept falling into that I just felt, cool with was like being in the stock boy business or working into somebody's warehouse or stuff like that. Because it was like, no matter your attitude, I'm too young to know if I'm going to be what we know now as a people person, right? But we know how, you get these jobs and the boss says, oh, people always right and don't do this, don't do that. And you might know you know yourself, and you know how you can pop off or somebody can rub you the wrong way. So then you get the type of jobs where you got less people to deal with. I only got to deal with my supervisor, a couple of coworkers. I ain't got to deal with customers off the street getting on my nerve or accusing me or whatever. So I love gravitating towards those jobs. When Alexander's was open, I worked there. Caldors, Children's Play, about 4 or 5 of them in a row that I, got time in working with. And then I did a lot of time at the fish market here. Um, I was lifeguard. I was a basketball coach. My biggest job that turned into a career actually was the being a warehouse manager in Elmsford, New York. Now, what I remember synonymous about all of these jobs, there was always somebody there, usually 9 times out of 10 older, ton of experience training me and in training me what to do, you're also getting that double training, second layer of what not to do. And you gotta realize this person's been there already. You're just getting this person's been there years. They know the ins and outs, and they're going to give you some information, try to help you, and not hang your damn self. But I noticed this is why I say I think it's generational on my side, because the little things that went along with the thinking of the job. Let's not even get to what we're actually doing yet. The thinking of said job. Again, when you're working for somebody, you want to always be prepared, look prepared. Or if you're not busy, look like, you know what I mean? You're tentatively busy or you're thinking about the job, whatever. That's what they pay you for, let's face it. And it depending on how much of a boss or corporate tyrant you got, that's how bad it could get. But this is what they thinking and expecting from you. When I see these young kids, man, and I've written several jokes time to time from it, when I walk in establishments and I see these young kids who like enthusiasms on -3, they can give a fuck or less, coming to see me and interacting with me, giving me some sort of customer service. So you get to that point, I just have the joke, like, you got to yell over there, motherfucker on the phone. Yo, you got this in 2X, or you got the extra large, whatever. And then they get mad. Whatever's out there. How lazy is that, motherfucker? You know what I mean? Like, but with the young kids, I'd be so excited when I do go into a store or a restaurant, and there's a young kid, whether it's a male or female. Usually, unfortunately, it's a female that has that fucking enthusiastic go-getter attitude that make you go, yeah, we tipping shorty. Like she took care of us, she checked on us, she knows she messed that up, she fixed that, da, da, da. And that's what it is. You young workers out there and people that have young people in their family that's working, get on them. You know how they say we don't talk about enough? Let's talk about that with the youngins. I don't care if they're your nieces, nephews, godkids. Let's start having, once they get old enough to do these little jobs in the summertime or whatever, we need to have that talk. How about sex talking the only talk we do?
You're
I'm
right.
tired. I'm tired of us thinking it's one talk.
You know, it's so funny, T. You made me think of something that also came into play yesterday. Like I said, I told you about, having gone to the game and everything. But this was something that my older brother brought up to me, and I never thought about it until, was watching the game yesterday. One of the other things that we're up against, and obviously this isn't everybody, we are under the impression that in any and all circumstances, the people who are in that moment are thinking. And there's a good chance that they're not. Not because they're not capable of thinking, they're just on autopilot. It was a play late in the game, and you and I talk sports all the time, so that's why I'm gonna use this analogy. But there was a play late in the game where St. John's was down,
Right.
and a guy from Georgetown drove, and the big man threw the shot into the audience. The interesting thing about the play though was the way the guy laid it up. He could have just pulled the shot out the air and fast break and gave his team an
Right.
opportunity to get an easy basket. But he was so caught up on trying to prove his dominance in the middle
Right.
that throwing it out of bounds was his moment. Sir, you're down. You need as many possessions as you are. The clock is, against you. But when I mentioned it to my older brother, he mentioned to me that my younger brother, my late younger brother had told him, he said, you'd be surprised how often people are not thinking in situations. We think that they are, but then when you start to actually look at how they've reacted or the things that they've done, that's what you realize is going on. There was no thinking going on. It was
Right.
reaction and just moving based off of what they have, come to know as their only reaction to a situation. And with that having been said, to your point, we've got to, and I've said this, to no avail, we've got to get back to thinking. People don't think anymore. People just, we just on autopilot all the time. One of to me, the true interesting things about what has happened in the last almost 3 years now, was that should have been a reset for so many. So for those of you who just got on that hamster wheel and you were on that hamster wheel and you were on that hamster wheel, you were supposed to stop that bad boy and go, wait a minute, I just been running on this hamster wheel. And at no point did I take a look at the things that were going on to the side, to the left, to the right of me, in front of me, and back of me. I was just on that wheel. If you start to train yourself to start to look and really drink in the things that are going on in and around you, then you put yourself in a position to not only make, better decisions, but you come up with better outcomes, because now you're looking at the entirety of your situation versus this, which is what a lot of us do. And I think, to your point, when you start talking about young people in particular, that's one of the issues, like you said, of being young. Your only concern is you and whatever it is you think is important to you, forgetting that there is a big world out there larger than you, larger than whatever it is you think is your, greatest, thing to have you upset or have you emotional. There is a
Right.
big space, and that comes with, having time on the planet. That comes with experience. That comes with going through some things. And I think, to your point, you're right. We have to start to have those kinds of conversations with our young people, so that they have that as part of their understanding and can keep that in their toolbox for if and when these situations arise, and they find themselves being able to be like, you know what, I didn't even look at it from that perspective. I didn't even think of that. And I think that that's, going to be paramount, for all of us going forward.
Yeah. I mean, the generation, it's weird because you know what makes it weird? I always look at it from our perspective. We got to realize we're both that generation, that 20s, late 20s, early 30s. That's the one right behind us. And the actuality is we both have to live in this hybrid situation. It's still a lot of us imprinted everywhere, and we're still getting a lot of digitally technical stuff, savvy stuff, and upgrade this and that is coming out. So we're both forced to live in this hybrid of a situation right now. And that's what we got to do. We have to have these conversations so we help each other. The old people talk to the young people. They go, oh, okay, I see why you do that. And then the young people explain some of the new techie shit to the old people, because I'm tired of seeing old niggas can't work an iPhone.
True
I, I'm,
story.
I'm tired of watching this 59, 62-year-old nigga can't struggling to take a number down in the club. Get your old ass either out of the club, call this bitch on Morse code, and call it a night. The fuck?
No,
Motherfucker out
you're
there,
right. You're
man, he
right.
feels like he's doing air traffic control.
If,
I'm like,
if, if it's not that, it's this. Yeah, is this thing on and working? I'm not exactly sure how to work this. This is we do.
hey, hey, when you think it's I'm too old to be in the club now, nigga. Put that phone down. You should have been out here. You should have been here the last 2 years. You should expire 2 years ago, and you keep coming here, sir. Get out of here. No, but yeah, that's all it is, man. I just think it's, how we say on the show sometimes, we remind our viewers and listeners that we're a mighty people of many, and you're not just one thing as a person. So if you know that you're not just one thing as a person, that apply that same train of thought to us talking to the generation behind us. That conversation, like we're not one conversation. I think my whole entire life, and I'm sure a lot of y'all would agree, people act like it was one conversation. It wasn't until maybe this past 7, 8 years, now we're talking about a second conversation. Oh, you got black sons, tell them how to act when they get pulled over and da 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 da. So that's now we have a second conversation, but here's an important conversation as well. If we sit down and we know, okay, we're raising young adults, we're now about to unleash them into society, if you will. It's on us, man, to have those conversations and prep these kids. It's okay they don't get right first, second, third time, but at least it's embedded up here that, and if it's embedded, then you got some sort of benefit of the doubt that they'll strive to do so. But it starts with us as well as them is having that conversation. I'm a firm believer in that. Quick update in the news. That Memphis shooting where they killed Mr. Nichols, young Tyree Nichols, murdered by these police, part of the Scorpion Force or whatever they call it. Of course, the Scorpion thing's been disbanded, whatever. And the latest news is now the 3 members of the Memphis Fire Department have been fired after the death as well. So they'll be looking for some them to be repercussions for them, and they'll probably get a couple of charges, whatever. Because if you don't know the story, and you're saying, "Hey, why them?" What happened is they were on the scene. They said, and they didn't administer the
Any
assistance
kind
or
of
helping for, and they said they were there within minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes, and they didn't do anything for 20 some minutes. So, yeah. So that's what's going on with that. We keep an eye on this story as the nation watches. This is a 2023 George Floyd to me. Rodney King, all those real bad ones that unfortunately video had to be on the scene or somewhere, and we're seeing the body cam of this. So imagine, the full scope of this. If this looks horrific on the body cam, which I'm sure all this time, I don't trust anybody. I know probably chopped it as much as they could or whatever the case may be, or tried to anyway, but it's horrific. And we'll just keep an eye on that. Prayers out to the family for justice as we always do. And hopefully prayers that someday everybody get it, man. Problem is everybody just don't get it.
No, you're absolutely right, T. And like you said, this one, really hit home much more so, and not because it was black on black. I know a lot of people were, obviously disheartened by that, especially those of us in our community. But I was just disheartened because as I watched the brutality of this particular situation, I just couldn't understand that part of it. Because in my heart and in my mind, if we put aside the fact that it was officers or anybody involved, if these had been just regular men, I was trying to figure out, what were you supposedly that upset about, that one, you teed off on another human being who obviously was being detained and couldn't defend himself. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, in this particular case, this is when the black part did hit me though. Those 3 gentlemen were males, black males at that, the officers. At no point did you not see yourself, your nephew, your
Mhm.
son, your dad, your uncle, some male figure that you are related to. You didn't see that at no point during this unfortunate situation. Like that was the most disturbing part of it to me. And I've been wrestling with that because I'm like, wow, are we losing our ability to be humane? Because that was inhumane. No, there's no other way to look at it. There's no other way to describe it. That was just strictly inhumane behavior. And I just wonder, like, at what point did these gentlemen move into that space that at no point did they look at that young man as a human being? Forget color, as a straight human being, because he's a human being. And then, like I said, he's somebody's son, somebody's dad, whatever. Y'all are black men. How did y'all not see yourselves in him in any way, shape, or form? And I don't even want to talk about the bragging after and all the other stuff that, like I said, there's so much stuff to unpack and so many layers to this thing. And I got a pretty good feeling that, for a while we will, be unpacking this, like we've had to unpack so many things as of late. But, I just pray that, first and foremost, all of you who have either witnessed it or had the opportunity to witness it, one, please don't continuously watch it because it does take effect on you, or it will take effect on you.
Yeah.
And secondly, just know that we do have some people in this world who, for whatever reason, to Talent's point, just don't get it. And all I could say is we have to not only pray for them, but we have to hope that whatever their just due is, and there's gonna be some just due for them. Y'all better be, y'all hear Talent say it all the time. That bank of karma is always open. I told y'all a couple of weeks ago, they had a saw a thing where a guy said, the funny thing about this world is people don't understand. You're paying one way or the other. You're paying to either get good karma and great things out of what it is you put into the world, or you're paying to get the other side of that. So the
Right.
choice is yours. And I think that people have to start really looking at that. Everything from complaining to he or she is not this, that, or the third. Stop it. You just focus on you. Be happy about you. Know that you're powerful. Know that you're great. Know that you're enough. Know that you're more than enough. Know that everything that you put into everything that you do will have a payoff. I promise you. I've been hanging out with this guy now the last 3 years hard. And when I say hard, meaning we reestablished our connection and, we've been doing so many things. And I've not only seen, wonderful things coming into my life, but I've seen wonderful things coming into the other people who are indirectly connected to him and connected to the stuff that we've managed to come up with. And that includes some of the other comedians. That includes some of you who tune into our show. I'm vested in your lives the same way you're vested in mine. We become like our own TV shows that
Ain't
we
that
tune
something?
into, on a constant basis. But I think that it's dope because with that comes the ability to put out the word. If we haven't heard from this person, quite a few phone calls are made. Hey, has anybody checked in? Is everything okay over there? And that has to do, and that's a good thing because what that says is, again, our humane side is still on. We're still tapped into that. We still understand that no matter how much things may be going wonderfully in my situation or circumstance, they may or may not be happening the same way for the people who I care about. So I need to check in. I need to be mindful and go, hey, y'all all right over there? Everything good? How could I be helpful? Hey, if it's just a prayer, even if, again, I always tell y'all, check in. You never know who's, going through whatever they're going through. And like I said, that doesn't mean go in and kick in the door. It means you do your best to, say, how could I be helpful? What can I do? And if they're open to that help, great. But if they're not, then you at least know that you've done your part, which is saying, hey, I just was checking in on you. I just want to make sure you're all right over there. You know what I mean? That's powerful and poignant at this time, especially with the way the world is, set up right now. So y'all
Yeah,
keep
it's
doing it.
funny. It's funny you mentioned the about don't no overkill and watching the tapes, with this graphic stuff on it, like what we're going through right now. Mr. Nichols in Memphis, Tennessee. I purposely did that to myself without even stopping down to really realize what I was doing. But it just hit me today when I went to actually look at the video. Now look how many days it's been since I allowed myself or gravitated towards seeing it. And even when I seen it, I watched half of it because it's 2 times where they stop them, but I watched the half and I cut it off, and it was processing up here, but I was going already on to doing whatever that next thing was. So I can relate to what you're saying. Like, okay, if people want to see some things to be informed is one thing. To get caught up in the looping of the trauma can have effect on you. You got a point right there. That can reverse psychology on you and have a reverse effect on you. And you just think that, oh, I'm just watching something. No, that stuff stay. How many times have we grown up? We love scary movies and go to sleep and get woke up with a nightmare in the middle of the night. Why? Because subconsciously, what you subjected yourself to earlier, a few hours ago, is still in your subconscious. And you're still scared, punk motherfucker. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely.
So yeah, but that's some true shit. And I did. It's funny because it didn't really click and resonate. So you said, I said, "Oh shit, that's sort of what I did." You know what I'm saying? I said, "You know what? I'm just listening to people. Oh, it's this and that and that." I was like, "Okay, I'm not in a rush to see it." First of all, I said, "I know I have to for historical purposes. Period. Just for knowledge person, because otherwise you're ignorant. If we just go over what we hear." And have a chance to see it, the fact for ourselves, we must do it. Otherwise, you can be the one to end up ignorant in the conversation. Like, no, I thought they did blah, blah. No, did you ever go look? No, they just said it and dong, dong, you're the dummy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So got to be careful with that. Once again, Motivation Monday. We got a few minutes left. Just want to touch on a couple more things. Some of our comrades and our fellow human beings at different areas in this country about to go through the whole storm thing all over again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so some prayers out to those regions. Whenever they cancel 1,000 flights, bro, that means you're in a significant area of where a lot of planes got to either go through or connect to. Either way, it's going to affect millions of people. 1,000 flights already canceled, getting ready and bracing for the winter storm blast. If you're, like I said, I didn't read the specific radius of where it is, but you know who you are because you're about to go through it. So our prayers are with you guys as well across the nation with that right there. I don't know about you, bro, but I feel it didn't feel like a Monday. First of all, I got the certain things I do on certain days, and I almost got caught up and just started running like it was, and I'm like, what is today? And my TV was on the wrong thing. Do you do this? I do this. This is some funny shit. I go to sleep with certain shit if I can help it on the TV, and when I wake up, if it's on the right channel, I know exactly where I'm at. Even when my eyes are not all the way open, I didn't look at a clock or watch, but I can hear where I am. And so last night, apparently, edibles. Apparently I went to sleep on some nondescript show I was watching because it just keeps rolling.
Yeah.
I never seen a show in my fucking life, first of all. So when I'm hearing shit, I'm waking up, I'm like, what is today? First thing, like, why is the news not on? Like, why am I not waking up? I'm like, yo, so I look at this shit, I'm looking at, and it took me a minute because, oh, you know what? You fell asleep on the wrong shit than what you normally do. Wake up to the morning news. And so I had to go back on my Fire Stick, scroll back to live TV and do this thing, put it back in. But I have a system. You know what I mean? And that joint threw me up. Like some people, they don't like to sleep with any lights on, no TV could be playing, no music, nothing. I sleep soundly with the TV on.
Mm. It's funny. I'm one of those people who likes quiet, whatever. It's not that I can't sleep with the TV on, but I'm one of those people to the point you made a moment ago. My subconscious, I think, is always on play or replay. So if something odd comes on the TV, then it immediately goes into my conscious and it shows up in my dream. So I'm always like, nah, let me shut everything off. So this way I'm going to bed with, at least in my mind, as plain a conscience as I can, or as quiet a conscience as I can go, to sleep with. But I agree with you. I didn't feel like today felt like a Monday either. I was, like I said, based off of what happened yesterday, I just came into the day in such a okay. And then as I started the show with, again, it's it's around the time of the birthday, so just so many cool things happening. So I'm in my heart and in my mind, I'm flowing in the energy and the spirit of it all. Thursday is the first, correct? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. I think
second, second.
second. Okay. So Wednesday, would be our brother and our boys would have been his birthday. So my heart is, in that mode. I'm trying to rethink of what I'm gonna post and say and and all that stuff. So there's all these, amazing things happening. Black History Month. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and it's just always a interesting and fun time for me because, my parents, thank God they figured this out or did whatever they did. But the magic of the sons in my family are all in the month of February, 1st, 5th, 9th, and 29th. So we really open and close the month for real, for real. And I always just, am kind of mindful of that because, with Black History Month being what it is to so many of us, I always just think to myself, like, dag, mom and dad was really doing some interesting, fun stuff, in terms of preparing us. And it goes back to what you said. You should not only take solace, obviously, in, things that your parents do, take solace in your name, you should take solace in, who you are, meaning your family. As a matter of fact, I just had a family member reach out to me from Buffalo, so I got to, hit her up. And I was like, oh, okay, fam. She was like, oh, and I see you running around. I was like, I know, I got to get up there and see all of y'all because I told you I got a ton of family up in Buffalo, and they like, cuz when you coming up? I'm like, I ain't seen y'all since we was 13. Like, I wouldn't recognize half of y'all, but okay, we'll figure that out. But I share all that to say, again, this is, another one of those moments. We're getting ready to close out a month. We're getting ready to start a new month. Give yourself some new goals. Give yourself. Oh, I won't even say you give yourself new goals. Give yourself some new challenges, because sometimes wording, to a point that Talon made earlier, has energy to it that isn't always positive. Sometimes we say goals for people and then they don't meet it, then they depressed and sad. But if you say challenge, you just think to yourself like, okay, I'm really putting myself in a space where at the end of something, I'm looking to, see that some results. I've gotten some results, or something has changed in a positive way for me. So I always tell people, maybe, you may want to replace the word goals with challenges, because for you, it may, resonate with your spirit better. And y'all know I've said this as well. Words have power, so always be mindful of the things that not only you're saying about yourself and to yourself, but also be mindful of the things you're saying to and about others who you are connected to, because all of it has power, all of it has energy. And at some point, those worlds and those energies meet, and they either come away with something positive or we come away with something negative. I'm always looking for the positive, which is why this Motivational Monday is so powerful and impactful for me, because it allows me to come on here, share with you guys, give you some, like I said, some jewels, some nuggets, some things to think about. But more importantly, hopefully just get you jump started. It's like jumping jacks. It's like running in place. Get that heart rate up.
Hell yeah.
You're shaking. That's what we're
No,
here for.
I like it, man. Like, it keeps me on point. Like, I just like the fact that it's somewhere, again, go back to the young kids and training. I remember being trained like that. If you have something to do, certain time, certain day of the week, you're motivated to do it. I'm motivated on Mondays already because I'm like, okay, as soon as I wake up, let me do what I think of, what little thing I got to do, what tedious thing might be, get some dog food, might be breakfast, whatever. Get that out the way, T, because we got to go live a box seat to one, and then figure what I'm gonna do when I get off at 2. That little 4 hours during there, get everything done in there, because you're going to Motivation Monday 6. You know what I mean? And then 7, hopefully, depending on the work schedule, God willing, you get to USA. But you
Yeah.
feel really good because of what you did and how you got through that Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot thank you enough that it's a whole new year, 2023, and we're still being allowed to come on here and chop it up with you guys and bounce a few things off. Thank you guys for the comments. We are reading them as we're going on, by the way, so comments not wasted on the wall side. I'm your boy Talon Harris. I'm wishing everybody a splendid week. This is the first weekend coming up of our month. If you're black and you got some pigmentation to you, Black History Month. And if you're not black and you know a couple of blacks, you celebrate too.
Facts.
There's not
Facts.
off limits to nobody. Your boy Talent, that's Amir Silly. We love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Peace, King.
Peace.
It's Monday, cocksuckers, and you better come prepared because they don't fuck around on Monday. Monday, most people come in, I had such a great weekend. Oh my God, go fuck yourself. That was then, this is now, bitch. It's a whole new set of rules. It's Monday. And you ain't waking up with a taste of blood in your fucking mouth like a shark 5 feet from the shore. You fucked up, you understand? Because Monday is when you go, everybody else